I never told my family how deep the rabbit hole went. To them, I was just the successful one. The one who left home early, built something big, and somehow survived the galaxy of corporate warfare without coming back broke or begging for approval. What they didn't know was that I had been quietly paying for my younger brother's entire life for years. Not just helping, funding everything. The penthouse he called his achievement. The sports cars he posted on social feeds, the private chef who thought he worked for a genius entrepreneur, even the influencer girlfriend who thought she had struck gold. It wasn't generosity anymore. It was maintenance of a lie. Every month, money flowed through hidden channels I built into my own company structure. My brother never questioned it. Why would he? In his mind, he was naturally successful, a born businessman, a genius misunderstood by the world. My parents reinforced it like it was a sacred truth. They proudly told relatives that he was self-made, while I sat there quietly paying the invoices behind the curtain. Then came the dinner. A perfectly polished evening, expensive wine, fake laughter, and that familiar expectation in the air. My parents didn't ask, they declared. My brother leaned back like a king granting mercy to his subjects while they told me I should give him $15 million for his next big leap. They called it family responsibility. I called it another bill I didn't approve. That's when I noticed her. The alien consultant from the Off-World Logistics Council. She was attending as part of a trade evaluation for my company. Pale silver markings under her eyes shifted slightly when she observed humans arguing over money like it was oxygen. Later, she leaned toward me and quietly said humans were the only species she had studied that could simultaneously demand independence and financial dependence in the same breath. It should have annoyed me. Instead, it made me think. So I didn't argue. I didn't refuse. I didn't even react. I simply decided that if they wanted a miracle, I would give them silence instead. And silence, in my world, was more powerful than any amount of money I could send. The first crack in their perfect illusion appeared exactly 6 days later. At first, it was subtle, almost comedic in how confidently they ignored it. My brother's credit card got declined at a high-end restaurant, and he actually laughed, telling the waiter there must be a temporary intergalactic banking glitch. My parents immediately backed him up, insisting loudly that their son's accounts were simply under maintenance. I watched from a distance as reality slowly started tapping on their door, politely at first, then more insistently. By the second day, the penthouse manager showed up in person instead of sending emails. He didn't look amused when he informed my brother that 3 months of unpaid dues had turned into an immediate eviction notice. The marble floors, the glass walls, the panoramic city view, all of it suddenly came with a price tag my silent financial withdrawal had stopped covering. My brother's smile flickered for the first time, but he still insisted it was a systems misunderstanding. Then the cars disappeared. One by one, like props being removed from a stage. The sleek black sports car he flexed on social media was repossessed in front of his influencer girlfriend's live stream. She tried to laugh it off at first, but when the tow truck driver waved politely and confirmed the unpaid lease, her smile froze mid-frame. The stream ended abruptly. That was the first time I saw her look at my brother like he was just another guy. The chef left next. No dramatic speech, no warning, just a polite message saying his services required payment, and he had not been paid in weeks. Suddenly, the kitchen that used to smell like imported spices and luxury meals echoed with silence. My brother opened the fridge like it might explain itself. It didn't. My parents were in full denial mode by then. They blamed banks, hackers even. Hostile corporate entities trying to sabotage our family success. My mother insisted loudly at dinner that someone must be jealous of my brother's obvious genius. My father nodded like this was a reasonable geopolitical theory. I said nothing. Instead, I continued my routine calls, continued my work, and continued pretending nothing had changed. That was the key, they didn't suspect silence. Silence doesn't trigger alarms in people who think money is permanent. The alien consultant, however, noticed immediately. She leaned beside me during a corporate briefing and casually asked why humans became so emotionally unstable when their imaginary wealth disappeared. I almost laughed. Almost. It's not imaginary, I said. She tilted her head. But it disappears when you stop pretending it exists. That sentence stuck with me longer than I expected. Meanwhile, my brother spiraled in increasingly absurd ways. He tried selling motivational courses about wealth consciousness. He attempted to launch a luxury brand using borrowed clothes and fake investors. He even filmed a dramatic apology video that somehow turned into a rant about cosmic financial injustice. Each attempt collapsed faster than the last. And still, he didn't understand. That was the funniest part. Not the failure. Not the chaos. But the fact that for years he had lived on borrowed reality, and it never once occurred to him that someone else was holding it together. From my office window, I watched it all unfold like a controlled demolition. No explosions. Just consequences arriving exactly where I placed them. The moment everything started collapsing, I realized how fragile their version of reality actually was. My brother didn't break all at once. It happened in stages, like a system slowly losing power while still pretending it was fully operational. First came the denial phase, where he insisted loudly that nothing was wrong. Then came confusion, where he started calling every company, every service, every connection he had, trying to fix the glitch. Finally, there was panic, the kind that makes even expensive clothes look cheap when worn by someone who no longer feels in control. My parents were worse in their own way. They didn't adapt, they resisted. They treated reality like it was being unfair on purpose. When the penthouse lock system changed codes due to unpaid dues, my mother called it an administrative misunderstanding. When the cars vanished, my father declared it a temporary asset relocation. When the chef stopped answering calls, they said he was on vacation due to stress. I watched all of it quietly from a distance, like observing a controlled experiment where the subjects refused to accept the lab results. The truth came out piece by piece anyway. A financial auditor, probably tired of the chaos, finally explained everything to them in simple terms. No poetic language, no excuses. Just facts. For years, their successful son had been surviving entirely on hidden financial support. And that support had stopped. There was a long silence after that. Not the dramatic kind. The empty kind. My brother stared at the report like it had insulted him personally. "This is fake," he said. "I've been successful my whole life." The auditor didn't even blink. "You've been funded your whole life." That sentence hit harder than any argument I could have made. My parents turned toward me immediately, as if I had just changed the laws of physics without permission. My mother's voice cracked first. She asked why I would destroy my own family. My father followed with anger, calling it betrayal, irresponsibility, even cruelty. I finally spoke. Not loudly. Not emotionally. Just clearly. "I didn't destroy anything. I stopped building something you refused to see." That's when the alien consultant stepped forward from the side of the room. She had been quietly observing the entire exchange with scientific curiosity, like she was studying a strange cultural ritual involving denial and inherited entitlement. She looked at my family and tilted her head slightly. "In most species," she said calmly, "adults are expected to maintain their own survival parameters." My brother snapped at her. "Stay out of this, alien lady." She blinked once. That is not a logical response. That alone almost made me laugh. But the real shift came afterward. My brother, now stripped of every illusion, finally tried something new. Anger turned inward. He demanded to know why no one taught him how any of this actually worked. Why money disappeared. Why credit wasn't infinite. Why effort suddenly mattered. For the first time, there was no audience applauding him. Just silence. And silence, I had learned, is expensive when you're not used to paying for it. My parents tried one last approach, sentimentality. They said I owed the family. That success meant sharing. That love meant funding mistakes. I looked at them and finally understood something simple. They didn't want help. They wanted dependence. The alien leaned slightly closer to me and whispered, "Is this the part where your species reconciles?" I shook my head. "No," I said. "This is the part where they learn." And for the first time in years, I wasn't the one holding everything together. I was just watching what happened when I stopped. After the silence settled, the world didn't end. It simply corrected itself. That was the strange part nobody in my family understood. Nothing dramatic happened when the money stopped. No collapse of civilization, no cosmic punishment, no sudden poverty spreading like a curse. Just consequences doing what they always do when you stop interfering with them. My brother was the first to fully break the illusion. He showed up at my office building a few weeks later, dressed in clothing that still screamed expensive but was starting to lose the confidence to carry it. No entourage. No influencer girlfriend. No car waiting outside. Just him, standing in a lobby that suddenly felt too large for his ego. He didn't shout at first. That came later. At first, he tried negotiation. He talked about misunderstandings, temporary issues, system resets, and how I could easily fix everything with a single transfer. He even smiled once, like we were still operating in the same reality. I let him talk. When he finished, I simply asked, "What exactly do you think I should fix?" That's when the anger returned. He said I ruined his life, that I exposed him, that I humiliated him in front of people who now laughed behind his back. He said I owed him because he was my brother. The word owed hung in the air like a habit no one had corrected for too long. I didn't raise my voice. "I never took your life away," I said. "I just stopped paying for the version of it that wasn't real." That's when my parents arrived. Of course they did. They had transitioned from denial to moral outrage as if it were a scheduled upgrade. My mother immediately began speaking about family betrayal. My father tried to frame it as corporate corruption, like I had committed some kind of financial crime by refusing to continue it. They wanted the old system back. Not because it was fair. Because it was comfortable. Then the alien consultant stepped in again. She had insisted on observing human restoration behavior, which apparently meant watching families argue over accountability like it was a rare species ritual. She looked at my parents and spoke softly. "In most civilizations," she said, "dependence without contribution is considered an early-stage developmental error, not a lifelong entitlement." My mother looked offended. "Excuse me?" The alien blinked. "I am excusing nothing. I am observing." That nearly broke me. My brother, meanwhile, was unraveling in real time. Not dramatically anymore, just slowly. He admitted things he had never said before, even to himself. That he never actually understood how his lifestyle worked. That he assumed success was a title, not a process. That he thought money was something people had, not something that had to be constantly maintained. It wasn't stupidity. It was absence. A missing education replaced by uninterrupted comfort. For the first time, he didn't ask me for money. He asked me how to survive without it. That was the real shift. My parents didn't like that version of him. He wasn't confident anymore. He wasn't loud. He wasn't the fantasy they had been presenting to relatives for years. But he was real now, and reality doesn't photograph well for family pride. Days turned into weeks. He got a job. Not a glamorous one. Not a symbolic one. Just work. Actual work. He failed at it repeatedly, but he kept going. The influencer girlfriend never came back. The luxury life never reassembled itself. And slowly, painfully, something unfamiliar replaced it: effort. My parents softened in strange ways too, though they never admitted fault. They simply stopped talking about deserved wealth so loudly. And me? I stopped being their financial architecture. I started being something else entirely. One evening, as the city lights stretched out below my office, the alien consultant stood beside me and said something I didn't expect. "You didn't destroy your family structure," she said. You revealed it. I asked her if that was good. She thought for a moment. In most species, truth is rarely comfortable. But it is efficient. A pause. Then she added, almost casually, I would like to continue observing your species closely. There was something in the way she said it that wasn't just scientific anymore. And for the first time in a long time, I realized I wasn't the only one learning how to live without illusions. Out there in the real world, my brother was rebuilding himself from scratch. And for once, nobody was paying for the story except the person actually living it.